What if the guilt over what you're eating is actually worse than the food you're eating? What? Maybe. And this might blow your mind. The belief that is almost invisible that I almost didn't see that needs to be reframed is welcome back to the Reframe, where we take what you heard about your body, your food, and your self worth, and we turn it right side up. I'm your host, Jennifer Lucas Gibbs. Today on the Reframe, we are talking about what if the guilt over what you're eating is actually worse than the food you're eating. Ask me how I learned this one. I self discovered it over a period of time where I would throw in the towel. I'd get a craving for something. This is when I was not managing my blood sugar and I didn't have the habits and the tools that I have now with the 8 Beautiful app and things like that. When I was kind of like, dare I say, out of control, I would find myself in a pattern. Sadly, this was not an isolated incident, but it was a pattern that led me to awareness of what was happening. What would happen is I'd be good for an amount of time, and then I would want inevitably whatever my treat was, my go-to. And so then I'd have that. Let's call it a donut. And then I would be like, well, shoot, now I ruined today. I wouldn't necessarily consciously think of these thoughts, but it was just kind of like in the back of my mind, kind of like I didn't look at it directly, but I kind of was like sort of thinking, I'm not eating clean today, right? All of these terms that put shoulds on us, things that we feel like we should be doing. Since I didn't eat clean today, I'll just start tomorrow, and tomorrow will be perfect. Since today couldn't be perfect, let's just go nuts, have a good time. Today doesn't sort of count because it can't be perfect, so we're not going to count it. Here's a revelation. Every day counts for you. Every day of your life is a day of your life, and it's valuable, and there are no throwaway days, there are no cheat days. And so hear me on this. You are valuable every single day of your life. Okay, I got to rant. I feel strongly about that. I need you to know that. The thought process was, well, I ruined today, so I'll do better tomorrow. So I had what? Call it 500 calories of a donut, which would, by the way, not have ruined any diet or really any program, as proven by the maintenance things that we do to just hold the progress that we make when inside of our 8 Beautiful approach. But the 500 calories of the donut would not have derailed me and done irreparable harm. Where the harm comes in is what I did after that belief, that assumption and mindset kicked in that today's a throwaway day. Today doesn't count. I already screwed up today. I can't fix it. I'm not going to engage in a disordered eating behavior where, I can reverse me eating this donut. That's not happening. And so all I can do is try again tomorrow, right? Like that's kind of the pervasive mindset is like, I'll just try again tomorrow. We'll live to fight another day, right? Except when we don't want to be fighting ourselves. We want to be at peace with ourselves. So that language doesn't necessarily apply anyway. However, so what would happen after the donut? That is the question, because probably that happened between 11 and 3, let's call it. So there are still 8 to 10 hours maybe of a day left where damage can be done if there are no rules. And we're like, let's enjoy today is the thought, because tomorrow we're going to be perfect again. We're going to have another chance or another run at being perfect. And the implication and also the kind of semi-visible, mostly invisible mindset behind that is perfect is going to be yucky. It's not going to be full of pleasure for sure. It's going to be hard. It's something I don't want to do and I don't feel like doing. And spoiler, people only do what they feel like doing. So if you don't feel like doing, you're really not going to do it, at least not for long. And that's just basic human psychology, like human needs being met, right? Like you will succumb to your psychology at some point on some of these kinds of things. Willpower just only gets you so far. All the assumptions about tomorrow is not going to be tasty. Tomorrow definitely will not be filled with a donut because that ruined today already. So let's just get the most pleasure that we can in today is becomes like if then if today is screwed up and tomorrow is going to be perfect, then if today is eating foods I like that donut, then tomorrow is going to be eating foods I don't like a salad or chicken breast or whatever. Eye roll, exaggerated, right? So there's a few reframes that need to happen within this context. One is the day is ruined because I ate something that I enjoyed, like a donut. I'll just call it out. Sometimes I like a donut, not every day, but once in a while I do. I'm also a food snob though, so it has to be like a specific donut. Just saying. So I invite you to be a food snob as well. That's very, I think, healthy mindset. Like I can have some, but it better be good. If you eat those calories, if you eat those net carbs, you either burn them or you wear them, right? That's your two choices. So that has caused me to learn to be a snob, and I hope that is contagious. I think that's a good, healthy mindset. The belief that is almost invisible, that I almost didn't see, that needs to be reframed is if I eat something delicious, I've failed and I've ruined things and I might as well not even try. Right. So that's one belief that needs to be reframed. And the connected belief to that is when I get it right, I'm going to suffer. Oh, these are terrible belief patterns. Huh. And you may have them too. Let me know if you do. Let me know in the comments, like, what are some beliefs that you need to reframe along these lines? Because you may not even be aware of them. You might not understand how to articulate them, which is why we're having this conversation. Because I figured out how to be like, oh my gosh, that's what's happening in my brain. No wonder I've had a problem with it. If we reframe this in a couple of ways, first of all, you can have some donut, even a whole donut, and not ruin the day, not rue the day. Did you know that that's possible? That there is a program out there where you could actually have the treat that you want and satisfy that desire in a reasonable way. There's like a little asterisk, but you can have the thing that you want to eat and just continue right on and continue maintaining the body mass that you like if you're there, or even moving in a direction that takes you towards your goals. Like, this is another reframe. Like, what is there a plan like this that exists, that I could have like a donut and I haven't fallen off the plan? I haven't ruined the program on my nutrition. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it's important to know that we need to reframe that eating treats is not bad. It's not moral. It doesn't make you a cheater on your diet. We're supposed to have pleasure. We're supposed to enjoy our food. Otherwise, we wouldn't have taste buds, right? Like, they're there for a reason. And your body is a way that you can experience joy. You're supposed to hug and dance and run and jump and enjoy your physical body that carries around your beautiful soul. Pleasure in food is a piece of that, but it gets skewed and it gets twisted, and it goes to black and white and extremes. On the opposite side, the other reframe we need is the assumption that if I eat healthy, I'm not going to like it. It's going to be gross, and I'm going to tap my fingers and like, when are we done with that whole like healthy eating sprint, that diet, the program, the whatever? Like, when is it done so I can go back to what I really like, what I wish my life was like, right? Another default that I'll explore more deeply another day was, if I'm not on a program, I'm probably gaining weight. That's most women. If I'm not actively on a diet, on a nutrition program, tracking every calorie, if I'm not paying attention, then I'm probably gaining weight. And that's a thought that a lot of people haven't put into an actual conscious thought as well. But I'm just going to call it out. But the reason that is a thing is because the assumption is I don't like eating healthy. That's it. I like eating crap that makes me feel bad and makes me fatter. And I don't like eating healthy, right? These are the two like blatant, uncovered, exposed beliefs about what you're actually thinking. And so the reframe is in a couple of pieces. One, I can have foods I enjoy and still be on track, still feel successful. It doesn't make me have to like just throw the towel in and do all of that damage. And then the other piece is maybe, maybe, and this might blow your mind. Maybe some foods that are really yummy. Oh my gosh, my mouth just watered. I started thinking of foods that are delicious, that I like, that are on track, that are healthy. Maybe some foods that are healthy for me taste good. What? What? Yes, it is possible that some foods that are healthy and good for me, that help my blood sugar stay level, that help me stay full for a long time, that help me enjoy what I'm eating, that give me satisfaction. Like I like to chew them, I like to savor them, I like to taste them. They make me feel full and satisfied for a long time. They help my mood. Like I can enjoy some chocolate. That can be on the healthy list. Yes. So there's a couple of beliefs that we can shift right there, right? Eating healthy does not have to be a chore or something that you don't like. And eating what you do like does not have to sabotage your body and your results that you're getting. I definitely want you to just inhale that for a moment and let that sit, let that marinate as like, could this be real? Could this be a thought that I could let pass the barrier walls and just maybe let it sit and let me think of it as a possibility. Okay. So I'm going to invite you to just consider the possibility that whoa, here's the next level and I don't know if you're ready for it. What if you actually preferred eating the healthy things like multiple times a day? What if you liked it better? What if you actually found things to eat that you preferred to some other things? That's my story, and if you hang around with me long enough, you'll learn how I was able to. I mean, I was in a habit of packaged foods, quick grabs, whatever. But in order to maintain a lean physique, it's not just exercise, it's habits that are with you throughout the day, thought habits as well as nutrition and food habits. So let's talk a little bit more about this idea though that the guilt is worse than the food. And I think you can kind of tell where I'm going with this. Reflexively, and because I'm sure we all have patterns around this, I'm not the only one, but reflexively, when you eat the bite of whatever the thing is that you feel like you shouldn't eat, then a pattern behind that, it's like that domino falls, and then there's a whole pattern of things that happen after that, right? So you start like, okay, this isn't the only thing I've done wrong. You start making like a catalog list, like I did this, and this. You kind of keep like that mental scoreboard. I shouldn't have done this. And you probably are not even actually aware that you do it, but you may be aware now that I've kind of called it out. You might be like, oh my gosh, I'm making that list again. And this is, what some people call beating myself up, right? It doesn't feel good to do this. And there is an importance to an awareness of our actions, but then just kind of being in the whirlpool of like ruminating on the negative about ourselves, that's not constructive. That doesn't bring positive change. Now here's the kicker. Um, this game is not rigged for you to win. Every single food that you can eat is banned on some diet. You know how like I used to get like fitness magazines and I flip through and this diet and at the grocery store every magazine has like the newest diet and whatever and you could get 100 magazines and you get 100 different ideas of how you should eat and what is banned, what foods are not allowed on whatever program. So I'm like, okay, I did vegetarian for a while. I was vegetarian for like 9 months. So that wipes out categories of food, right? I've done low fat, and then I've done keto, and then I've done carnivore, where it's like that's the complete opposite of the vegetarian thing, right? But if I try to do all these diets at once, there's literally nothing that you can do but fast. You can't eat anything. So if you have guilt around whatever a program, it's probably never going to go away because you have to do what works for you and your body and you have to decide what that is, and the deciding is almost the worst part. It's almost worse than going on a program to have to decide like what can I live with? What like nutrition context could I actually live in long term and keep a body that I want, that's looks how I want, that feels how I want. Like, how do you do both? How do you do it at the same time? Every food is disallowed somewhere. You can always find fault. If you seek fault, you can always find it. Food is not moral. There's no good or bad foods. There's just some context and knowing when there's enough. And there's some other thought patterns that we can get into another time. Stick with me for those. We talk a lot about mindset. That's such an important piece of seeing yourself beautiful is not only the physical, but also that subjective beauty. Like, how do I feel when I look at myself, not just my body, but like myself? So I guess the question is the shame or the spiral that you this pattern that kicks off with these dominoes, is that actually worse than the food you ate? Is it worse than the calories that you ate? Is it going to make you gain more weight? The ramifications of how you feel about what you ate than actually the food you ate. And I started considering this because mind and body are not separate. You're one complete being, right? The thoughts you have trigger hormones that you have. And really, a lot of people would argue that all weight loss is controlled by hormones. And if your thoughts affect your hormones, then it becomes very important what you think, right? And what your thought patterns are and what the real damage comes from, right? So I'm not going to say your food doesn't count. It does. And so does the belief that I know how to choose healthy food for myself that I like, that I can keep choosing day after day, month after month, year after year. I can maintain a body that I'm proud of, that I respect, and I respect my decisions and who I am inside of this body. So let's flip it a little bit. Your mind is going to analyze anyway. Your brain is built to constantly evaluate situations, people, body language, like all day long. Some people say 60,000 thoughts a day go through your head. I don't know. I couldn't possibly count, but you're always on, right? Your brain is always on. It's not going to stop. So let's choose. Let's use our agency and be in charge of ourselves, and let's choose something good to focus on. So no matter what you eat, I instead of talking about weight loss, I prefer the term lightness management. I even in my language, even in my perspective, even with what I train my brain to seek each day, I want it to look for the good and the positive. And so instead of weight loss, which feels like a loss, I'm going to talk about lightness management, which just feels like you're going to float like a balloon because you're just so light and filled with happy emotions, and you're just like rising off the planet, right? Potentially. So if you hear me talk about lightness management in this space, it means the same thing as weight loss, but it feels more desirable to me. And again, people only do what they want to do. So let's want to be light. That feels like something that would draw me in and that would cause me to maybe make better decisions, right? So, what can we focus on? No matter what we eat that's off the list or disallowed or bad, no matter what foods that we've chosen that might fall in that category, you can't uneat the food that you ate today. You just like if you've done it, you've decided that calorie went in, it can no longer not go in. But what we can do, regardless of what choices we've made any time before right now in the day, we can still add protein, we can still add fiber, we can still add hydration, we can drink some water. We still have at any point in the day control over the things that we could add, which would in turn, instead of the negative beliefs, this and that, if you have an empowering belief like, I can still win today, then you can take that and take positive action that you will see yourself do. So it's very important that we change our behaviors, not only because they go toward our results, but because we're watching us. We are observing our own behavior all day long. We're observing our thoughts and we're observing our actions in the body. And so if we can still do some kind of a redeeming action, that's going to make us feel good. That's going to make us feel less bad. So if all we had was like a downward spiral and I ate this, I fell off, I feel bad about myself. So then I'm just going to self-soothe with another donut, and then I'm going to feel worse about myself. And then I'm like, dang, I can't even put on my pants. Now I feel really bad, and I'm going to have to go buy stretchy pants, and that costs me money, and that breaks in the donut budget. Like, it's just like downward spiral, right? Like, I don't want you there, friend. I definitely do not. I care about who you're becoming, and I want you to use actions and energy to your own benefit in your own best interest, right? If you can give some care to your physical body in the form of protein or fiber or drinking an appropriate additional amount of water for the day, you at least can nurture yourself in that moment, and you can begin to build belief and identity around, I'm not the girl that fails out. I'm not the girl that binge eats treats and sugar. I'm not a slave to habits and cravings. I'm actually the gal that can take some good action. I actually can make choices I'm proud of, no matter what else you've chosen today. Here's another piece as far as not throwing out the whole day. You don't need a clean record. You don't. You don't need to have a perfect day. There are very, very few perfect days in this life for anyone, for even for one topic at a time. But what you do need is a way to start fresh again, not tomorrow, not Monday. Those are tomorrow will never be here, right? But today is always here. I did have an experience again for another video of like I sat like, what's my perfect day and all the things I would do and live totally in balance. And I had an opportunity to live that day once, and I'm like, that was exhausting. I never want a perfect day again. And so I was able to check that off the list. Like we don't need perfect days. And so what I found as I was developing my own program, the Eight Beautiful approach, specifically for women, because I've been in the fitness space and I've done a lot of like hardcore challenges. I used to be a beach body coach, and we would constantly do the beach body challenge, and we'd really push. There's a lot of that push energy and perfectionism and dramatic before and after, and those things are great sometimes, and there may be a season for those. I enjoyed that time in many respects. But what I found, especially as I started to get like some platinum in my hair and my life started to change a little bit into a different season, that 40 plus, 50 plus time frame, it's just a different time of life. You're dealing with different things. And I wanted a softer, more feminine approach to maintaining my body and my goals. As I was doing some of these more hardcore programs, I'm like, there needs to be a program that has this. There needs to be a program that has this. And that's where the Eight Beautiful approach came from. But what I love that I've never heard available anywhere else is a forgiveness piece. So just a little quick summary. You can learn more on seeyourselfbeautiful.com. But the Eight Beautiful approach is 8 weeks where you're checking off 8 items a day. And it's got this super cool app that I love it does all the things that I ever wish an app and a lightness management support program would offer. Like they're all here. I was able to build it. I love it because forgiveness is built in. So along those 8 weeks, if there's a day where you're like, oh, I didn't eat clean, or I didn't get my workout, or I didn't even breathe for 1 minute today intentionally. So these are some things on the list. If you can't check all the boxes, guess what? You don't start over. You go to forgiveness. It's built in. If you slip, you forgive, and you can go right on checking boxes that day. It's tuning into yourself. It's more of a feminine approach where it's not rules, it's not stop and start, it's not black and white. It's not like go until you can't go anymore and then screw up and then feel bad for a few weeks and then start another program. It's just you can just keep going. You can just keep going. So I'll show you this app, which it's so pretty. I made it pink. I don't expect that you're necessarily going to be able to see all of these. I'll put a little graphic up. It says complete all 8 to crown the day. So we're going to check off all the boxes that we can. And if we end the day and we've fallen into bed and we're too exhausted and we can't do more, instead of, well, I screwed up today, I didn't do it, or just leaving it open, we need completion, right? Today is over, the sun set, let's complete the day and move on and start fresh tomorrow. So here it says, complete all 8 to crown the day, or use one of 8 forgiveness tokens left as you begin an 8-week journey. Should you decide to join the Eight Beautiful approach and the See Yourself Beautiful community, you would start your 8 weeks with 8 forgiveness items that you could use for any day. And if you're like, I watched someone's kids instead of doing my workout, or somebody called an emergency, I had to go visit someone at the hospital, or I had to run pick someone up from the airport, or whatever. As women, we shift with our relationships, we shift with our priorities throughout the day. So it's not wrong if you did any one of those things. That's to be celebrated. You're serving your neighbor, you're doing something for yourself, you're just adjusting to life that was unexpected, right? Like these are things. But how great to be able to say, you know what? Instead of I screwed up, it's Thursday. I'll just start again Monday, and then Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday. You're like, they don't count. I'll just eat whatever. I'll have the desserts. I'll have the soda, whatever it is for you that knocks you off track. And then you start again Monday. You start Monday 2 pounds heavier than you would have if you would have just started over 2 hours later on Thursday and got right back on track. So you can, I'll show you what happens in the screen. You can click use my forgiveness token. Now it says it's gonna give you some encouragement. It's gonna say before you use your forgiveness token, is today really done? It's giving you a second chance because sometimes we can like muster and like, you know what, I am gonna do this today, and then sometimes it's just like, nope, that's all I got. I gave all I got. It's okay. And so you've come this far. Is there anything left to finish strong? Closing today with grace is always here if it's the right call. You can say, I've got more, finish strong, or you can be like, I'm going to bed right now. I cannot do more today. We're women. We need to feel these choices. We feel what's good, right? So you can click use my forgiveness token, click, and it says forgiveness given. Forgiveness given right there. Progress over perfection. We're going to log it and check it out. Check out the days. You can see my journey is completing. You can see I get a crown. I get a crown the day every day that I did absolutely everything that I set out to do. And there's a couple days where it didn't happen, but the most important thing about this is that after the day after it didn't happen, I crowned the day and I kept crowning the day. I kept doing those things I set out to do because I was able to get myself on track. Here, this was literally a Thursday, and I could have been like, it's the weekend, I'm going out, we have plans. I'm just like, I'm gonna get appetizers and dessert and a fruity drink. I could have done the more damage, but because I had a tool that is helping me with, I don't want to say accountability because I really want people to develop the skills to be accountable to themselves. But I would kind of almost argue that this does help you be accountable to yourself because it's just you looking at your own numbers. You're doing an accounting, you're counting, you're tallying. Accountable is taking measure of your actions. And you can see, and you can just say, how many days have you done a program and you had like the day that you fell off and then like there's nothing? You disappear. You like pretend like I'm not gonna talk to my scale for the next like till whenever January 1 comes. I want you to know, first of all, beliefs are what kick off this whole thing. So if I can help you become aware of the beliefs that are sending you into a spiral and these assumptions that may be just below your awareness, that we can start to like shine a light on so that they don't rule us unknowingly, so that they don't cause our behavior to happen in a way that we're unaware of, right? We're not victims. We are taking control of our bodies and our minds and using these tremendous tools that we have been given. That's where the freedom is in understanding what's going on in your own mind. And then once you see it, how do we change it? How do we reframe it? How do we flip it and turn it into something that becomes those behaviors or those thought patterns become who we used to be and not who we're going to be, right? They become the past instead of where we're headed. So I hope this is making sense. I hope whether you have the tool, whether you're in our See Yourself Beautiful community or not, if you're watching this, I hope these thoughts about how to recognize what you're doing and how to begin, even if all you do is have awareness, like I now notice that I was thinking that. I didn't, where did that even come from? When did I start thinking that? When did I start assuming that? When did I start assuming that I don't know how to cook anything healthy that I like? When did I start assuming that it's impossible for me to make a healthy meal for my family that they're not going to complain about? Like these are beliefs, right? That we can shift once we are aware. And so thank you for joining me for today's reframe. Let me know if this is helpful, any insights, anything that may have bubbled up to your own awareness about other limiting beliefs that you have. And of course, let me know what beliefs you would like me to reframe in the future on the show. Thank you. I love you. Remember, you are infinite. I'm Jennifer Lucas Gibbs, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.